Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown. And this time I'm going to be doing Battlelords of the 23rd century. Now this is the 3rd edition, which came out in 1991. The game was originally released with the 1st and 2nd editions in 1990. And we've got a scattering of other editions up until the 7th edition, which came out in 2019, only last year. Now, I don't have any of the other versions, I only have the 3rd edition, but most of the people I've met who have Battlelords of the 23rd century have the 3rd edition. So in my experience, it's the most common version. Or it might just be the most common version in Scotland. Perhaps the other versions weren't shipped in as much or something like that. But this is one I've got, so this is the rules I'm going to cover. Now, skills in Battlelords of the 23rd century 3rd edition are percentile based. Now, your skills, the list is on page 60 with various skills from computers through to combat skills and robotics, are based on percentile system. So, for every point you have in the skill, you gain 10%. But you also have extra points based on your attributes. If we go back to page 19, we can see the attributes here have a skill bonus. So if you're using a skill which is intelligence based, so we look over here and we can see that decontaminate is an IQ based skill. If you have an intelligence of 41 to 60, you get no bonus on the skill. If it's below 40, then you get various minuses, minus 25, minus 50%, minus 90%, minus 100%. If your intelligence is higher, you get increasingly bonuses up until, if your intelligence is 150, you get a plus 45% chance on your skill. Once you've taken your skill and the bonus from your attribute, if we flick back to here, we can see levels of difficulty. So the Games Master sets a level of difficulty. So simple tasks like turning the machine on will be minus 10% to your skill roll. Routine operations are minus 30%, and so on and so forth, up to impossible for a mere mortal, minus 250%. So you're rolling percentile with 10% for all the points of the skill you've got, plus the bonus from your attribute, or penalty from your attribute, and then a penalty for the difficulty of the task. Now you're rolling percentile dice against that number, and you see whether you succeed or fail. If you roll a 0-1, it's an automatic success. So even if you've got an impossible for the mere mortal skill roll, then you can still manage to do something if you roll a 0-1. Now, initiative is based off your agility and a d10 roll. So if we flip back to the attributes on page 19, we can see your agility, and you get an initiative modifier. So if you've got a very low agility, you get a plus to your initiative modifier, and if you've got a very high agility, you get a minus. So an agility of 150, you get a minus 7, but if you've got an agility of only 15, you get a plus 10. So you roll a d10 and you add or subtract your modifier, and whoever gets the lowest goes first. Combat in Battlelords of the 23rd century is generally based about your range to your target, but you also get a bonus from your skill. But unlike the 10% you normally get for every other skill, combat skills only give you 4%. So if we turn to page 63 here, we can see the hit bonus for a level 1 skill is only 4%, but for a level 12 skill is 48%. So basically 4% for every level. There's also a damage adjustment here, which we'll bear in mind later. But mainly, it's based around the weapon you're using. So if we turn to page 85, we can see hand weapons. So let's say we're using a standard M16 right down the bottom here. We can see for the range categories 1 through to 8, we've got different target numbers. And the range categories here are, for 1, it's 0 to 5 meters, 2, 6 to 15, 3, 16 to 25, and so up to 8, which is 751 to 2,000 meters. And the target number for an M16 is 80% if something's less than 5 meters, dropping off until at category 7 it's minus 20%. And you add your bonus from your skill to that. So if you've got a skill of 3, you're adding 3 times 4, 12% to your roll. So for category 3, you're rolling against a target number of 72. And category 3 would be 16 to 25 meters. So fairly close range. Now damage is shown on the weapons here as well. So an M16A3 rifle does 2 to 8 points of damage. So 2d4 damage. It doesn't list the dice sizes, it just gives these ranges. So you kind of have to reverse engineer what it's doing. But 2 to 8, so 2d4 damage. If you've got a bonus from having a high skill, you'll add that as well. But you're rolling, so we've got a 1 and we've got a 3. We've done 4 plus any bonus damage. Worth bearing in mind, though, is armor, because in Battlelords most people will be wearing armor of some type. So we have armor types here. So we have leather armor, for example, which has a threshold of 1 and armor reduction of 4. So the armor reduces all attacks by 4 points. However, the armor itself can only take 8 hits before it falls to pieces and is damaged. The AI rating, which is the flip back a page here, armor integrity of leather armor is only 8. So 8 gunshots to leather armor, it falls to bits and it stops providing any armor reduction. If you've got a higher type of armor, you can take far more hits. Various types of weapons either do more, so large blast weapons will do the effect of 10 shots. There's microwave weapons which go straight through armor which don't affect the armor at all, but generally 1 shot does 1 point of damage until your armor falls apart. Now Battlelords is mainly a hit points based system. If we flip back to the attributes, we can see the constitution here. We have body points. So for a low constitution you receive minus 4 body points, for a very high one you gain plus 8. You also get, if we flick on to page 125, mortality. A person who normally dies at minus 10 body points has taken catastrophic damage when he has received 30 points of damage. So if we flick back here, we can see that death's door is reduced or increased. So a person with a very high constitution can survive beyond the minus 10 hit points. If they've got a very low constitution, then they die sooner. You can also be resurrected, and there's chances of that based on what your constitution is. Now, experience is handed out. If we flick over to page 206, or is it 208? 208. Experience points. Adventuring characters accrue experience points. Players receive these points for killing creatures, efficient performance of assigned missions, and role-playing their respective characters. For every 1,000 experience points accumulated, the character receives a skill proficiency point. Now if we go back to the skills section, page 60, we can see that every skill requires a certain number of proficiency points to go up 1 level. So medical treatment basic, you can take your skill up by 1 level for a single proficiency point. However, if you want decontaminate, then you need 3 proficiency points for each level. In infections, only 1, paramedic is 4, and so on and so forth. So you need to get multiple proficiency points, which are rewarded for every 1,000 experience, to increase skills. You also have to pay out a dollar amount in thousands. So camouflage skill only requires 1 proficiency point and costs you $1,000 for the training. It also it takes 4 days. Basic medical treatment, 1 point, costs you $500, takes you 1 week. And that is a very brief look over Battlelords of the 23rd century. There's a lot more in the game because the species in it are very, very different. The bonuses you get are massively different depending on your species. Getting fantastic combat bonuses, being able to resist damage, and getting charisma bonuses, etc., etc. But the rules are basically the same, and that should get you through your first combats. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. As always, please like and subscribe and comment below, as it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.